Welcome back to the show. It is time for the tight end rankings. Getting started with the Denver Broncos, number 37, Adam Troutman. I hate to say the Broncos are a bad team. I do think Sean Payton is trying, but Adam Troutman was the worst tight end in the league last year. I mean, statistically. And the Broncos didn't even try to upgrade. It's very interesting to me that, they have Greg Dulcich as well. I just don't see Adam Troutman as a viable option for them at tight end. Last year, just 204 yards, 22 receptions, 3 touchdowns, 7 career touchdowns. He is their starting tight end. This is year 5 for him. Number 36, I have Will Dissly on the Chargers. He's listed on the depth chart as their starter. I tend to think that he's not going to be a true starter. I think he's more of a platoon. I actually like their backup more than him, which we'll get to in a second. But Will Dissly, solid player with Seattle. He was a solid backup, but just things never really came together for him. He has 13 career touchdowns. Last year was his worst season. Just 1 touchdown last year and only 172 yards. Next, we got Michael Mayer of the Las Vegas Raiders. He is their backup, but I'm including him on here because Mayer is a young guy with a ton of potential. I truly believe Michael Mayer could eventually be a starting tight end in this league. He didn't play a whole lot last year. He was kind of platooning with Austin Hooper. I think this year, obviously, he gets hurt because he's the backup, and the Raiders, they just drafted a first-round tight end. They're going to play him, but I still like Michael Mayer a lot. Tommy Tremble coming in at 34 for the Panthers. Tommy Tremble, not a whole lot here for Carolina. Again, a team that I would have upgraded if I were them. But you know what? They decided not to, so that's how the cookie crumbles, right? Tommy Tremble, last year, 194 yards, 3 touchdowns, 23 receptions, 7 career touchdowns across 3 seasons. He's 24 years old. Number 33, I have Daniel Bellinger of the New York Giants. Of course, obviously, Darren Wallen retired, which is a bit of a surprise, considering he was a top 5 tight end not that long ago. Daniel Bellinger now taking over as their starter, 23 years old. He's very young, very unproven. I do think that he has some potential. He's decent at blocking, but he just hasn't really been a pass-catching threat. Didn't catch a single touchdown last year. He did catch 2 as a rookie, but Daniel Bellinger, long ways to go for him. 32, I have the Ravens backup, Isaiah Likely. So again, there are some backups in this league that I like more than some of the starters, and I do like Isaiah Likely a lot. I think that he is a solid backup tight end. We saw him play pretty well with Mark Andrews out. Last year, he caught 5 touchdown passes, 411 yards, 30 receptions, played in all 17 games. I think Isaiah Likely is a very solid option. He's also a really good run blocker. So if you're a team that is looking for a back-end starter or a just really good backup, Isaiah Likely might be the one for you. We got Luke Musgrave coming in at 31, a guy with, I think Luke Musgrave does have the potential to be a top 20 tight end at some point in his career. I just don't think that is his time yet. Last year, he caught 1 touchdown, 352 yards. Just, it wasn't a crazy good season as far as production goes for him, but I do think he has potential. I think that he can grow. He's still very young. He's in his second season, 24 years old, and he has a really good young quarterback, part of a really good young receiving core. I think Luke Musgrave could take a big step forward this year. Kalen Granson coming in at 30. Again, I'm saying this a lot about these guys. I need to see it. Kalen Granson showed some potential last year. He did. He showed some potential, but he didn't truly break out, and I think he's going to need to have a better season going forward. He is the starter for the Colts. He's now 26 years old. He's been with them for 3 seasons. Last year, 30 receptions, 368 yards. That was a career high. 1 touchdown. That was his first touchdown of his career. I liked what I saw out of Kalen Granson. That being said, you got to catch more than 1 touchdown. You got to start moving up these rankings. Number 29, I have the Patriots backup tight end, Austin Hooper. Austin Hooper, he's a back-end starter / high-end backup. That's what he is, and that's what he's been for quite a while. He's not probably going to fall off. At one point, he was a borderline top 10 tight end, but that was a long time ago. For the past, pretty much ever since he went to Cleveland, and then in Tennessee and Las Vegas, what Austin Hooper has been is a back-end starter, high-end backup. That's what he is. I mean, he was good last year. When he played, he only started 9 games. Then he got hurt. Michael Mayer took over for a little bit. But in his 9 games, 234 yards, did not catch a single touchdown, but he did catch 25 passes. With Tennessee, 2 touchdowns, and then with Cleveland before that, 7 touchdowns over 2 seasons. He has not really been a great tight end since he was with Atlanta, though. But the career numbers do say it. 25 career touchdowns, over 3,000 yards. He's likely will reach 4,000 yards this season. And he is a 2-time Pro Bowler, but that was 4 years ago. The last time he made the Pro Bowl was 2019. So he is now, he's a good backup to have. He's gonna work hard. He's gonna be a good player. He is not a really great starter, so that's why the Patriots are not starting him. 28, I got Juwan Johnson, and he, again, probably should not be a starting tight end in this league. I have him ahead of some guys like Kylan Granson, Luke Musgrave. I think he's a guy who could get passed up this year. He's already pretty low at 28. But Juwan Johnson, again, just wasn't a great season last year, and I get it. Andy Dalton's your quarterback, but 37 receptions, 368 yards. He did catch 4 touchdowns, so more touchdowns than some of these other guys. He has 15 career touchdowns. He actually converted from wide receiver to tight end, and he is now the Saints starting tight end. But yeah, I'm very interested to see how that goes this year for him in New Orleans. We'll see. Can Derek Carr utilize Juwan Johnson a little bit more? He's 28 years old. This is his prime. This is probably his best chance to have a great breakout season. I just don't really see it with him. Tyler Conklin at 27, another guy who I was thinking maybe would get upgraded because I know the Jets, they really care about having big name players, so it kind of surprises me that they're so willing to stay with Tyler Conklin as their starting tight end. Last year, no touchdowns, 621 yards, 61 receptions, so he did have quite a bit of yardage. He just didn't get in the end zone, and that was kind of a common denominator for the Jets offense. A lot of yards, but a lot of red zone interceptions that were being thrown by Zach Wilson, so that might be a part of that. He does have 7 career touchdowns across 6 seasons, but at 29 years old, I don't think he's getting much better. He is likely, I would say again, he's definitely a candidate to get replaced next season. Number 26, I got Chigoziem Okonkwo. I've been waiting for this guy to break out, and it just hasn't happened yet. I do like what I see out of Okonkwo. He's very good at blocking, especially run blocking. He was a huge part of Derrick Henry being able to get so many yards, but as a receiving threat, and that's tight ends are very important in the passing game. He just hasn't really been there. 1 touchdown last year, 528 yards, 54 receptions, 4 career touchdowns across 2 seasons. He's in his 3rd year. He's 25 years old. He can definitely still improve, but I'm waiting to see him really break out of his shell, and I haven't seen it yet. I'm at 26. He could definitely climb. Hayden Hurst at 25, and this is the guy who, right now he's listed as Will Dissly's backup. I think he will end up being the starter when it is all said and done, or at least they will play about the same for the Chargers. Last year with Carolina, he was actually pretty good. He did catch a touchdown, 18 receptions, 184 yards, but that was only in 8 games. So he played half the season, and I actually liked a lot what I saw, 10.2 yards per reception there. Before that, he was with Cincinnati, 414 yards, and then before that with Atlanta, 570 yards and 6 touchdowns back in 2020 with Atlanta. I think Hayden Hurst is a very solid player, and again, he's kind of similar to Austin Hooper level, where it's like, yeah, Hayden Hurst is either a back-end starter or a high-end backup tight end in this league. I wish I could have seen him more in that offense with Bryce Young, because I think he would have been a really nice option for him if he had been healthy. Unfortunately, he just wasn't really healthy last season. So I have him at 25 right now, but definitely, he's getting towards the end. He is 31 years old now. Mike Gesicki at 24 for the Bengals. This is a guy who was a top 10 tight end, pretty solidly a top 10 tight end a few years back. But last year, he had a rough 2022 season with Miami. Then he settles for a backup role in New England. Now he's back as a starter with Cincinnati. He was good, as a backup for the Patriots. He was probably the best backup tight end in the league last year. 2 touchdowns, 244 yards, 29 receptions. He was quite good for the Patriots. But now he moves on to Cincinnati. I'm very interested to see what he's going to be able to do. 20 career touchdowns. Can he replicate the success that he found in 2020 when he had 6 touchdowns, 703 yards? Can he replicate the 5 touchdowns from 2019? I don't know. But he was very good. From 2020, 21, 22, he had a 3-year stretch where he was very solid. But he kind of fell off. He kind of fell off after that. The past 2 seasons, he's been working his way. but now he is, yeah, he's going to have to prove himself again with the Bengals. He's what, 29 now, so he's getting towards the end of his time here. He's looking to have a career renaissance. 23, I got Pat Freiermuth. Pat Freiermuth, it seems like he's always just around the 20s, just a decent starting tight end, but I still haven't seen him take that next step. He's 25 years old, so he still could take that next step, but I'm just waiting for Pat Freiermuth to break out, and we'll see if Russell Wilson can do that with him. Russell Wilson loves his tight ends, I will say this, but for Pat Freiermuth, it's been 3 years. After a rookie season, he caught 7 touchdown passes, 497 yards. Since then, 4 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons, 2 last year, 2 in 2022. So, you got to start seeing a little more production in the red zone. 308 yards last year. I'm giving Pat Freiermuth the benefit of the doubt because he had a really good rookie season. He has not built on that yet. Number 2022, I have rookie tight end Brock Bowers. He is, I believe, the only rookie starting tight end in the league right now, which is kind of interesting. Normally there's a couple more, but not a whole lot of rookies that got drafted that high. Brock Bowers did, though, and he is meant to be a really, really good tight end coming out of Notre Dame. I think Brock Bowers is going to be good. I think that he is going to, I think he could definitely eventually put himself into the conversation for a top 10, maybe even, top 15 definitely, probably even top 10. I really like Brock Bowers. Excuse me, not from Notre Dame. He's from Georgia. I was confusing him with Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer's from Notre Dame. Brock Bowers from Georgia. And yeah, like I said, I think Brock Bowers, I think when it's all said and done by the end of the season, we could be talking about him the same way we talked about Sam Laporta last season as a top 10, maybe even top 5 tight end of the league. But for now, he's at 22. 21, Tampa Bay Buccaneers tight end Cade Otton, just missing out on that top 20. And, really, anybody who's not in the top 20 is at risk of being replaced, I think. But Cade Otton, what has he done for Tampa Bay? He's just been a fairly reliable tight end. Last year, 455 yards, 4 touchdowns, 47 receptions. And in 2022, 2 touchdowns, 391 yards, 42 receptions. So he got slightly better last year. Again, I'm looking to see some more production. This is going to be year 3 for him. I think Cade Otton can grow. I think he can get himself into that top 20. We'll have to see what he does and how he will play under that Baker Mayfield offense. Dawson Knox at number 20, what I have ranked as the best backup tight end in the NFL. Dawson Knox, and he has been a really solid tight end. Of course, he's no longer the starter. It's really more of a platoon role, though. But yeah, Dawson Knox at number 20. He is in my top 20. He was a Pro Bowler in 2022, and they still drafted a replacement. Isn't that crazy? But last year, his production did take a big hit. His production took quite a big hit. He did still start 11 games, though. But last year, 186 yards, 2 touchdowns. Before that, though, from 2021 and 2022, combined stats, 15 touchdowns, 1,104 yards. He was very good for those past 2 seasons. I still believe in Dawson Knox, and I think he could start for a good 10 or 12 teams in this league if he had to. Noah Fant coming in at 19, one of the guys the Seattle Seahawks got back for Russell Wilson. I've had him ranked in the top 10 before. Right now, I don't really believe in him. He's still young. It feels like he's been in the league for a long time, and he has. This is going to be year 6 for him. He's only 27, so he's still in that prime of his career. But last year was a bit of a fall from grace. No touchdowns. It's the first year in his career he did not catch a touchdown. I still believe in Noah Fant, though. Before that, 14 touchdowns, 2,391 yards in his first 4 seasons. But last year, just 414 yards, not a single touchdown, 32 receptions. It was a humongous fall off for Noah Fant. I will say he was dealing with some injuries, but I need to see more out of Noah Fant this year, or else he's going to fall out of that top 20. Kyle Pitts at number 18. Man, Kyle Pitts, I have to see something from Kyle Pitts. Is he going to break out or what? He's been in the league. This is going to be his 4th year now. He just hasn't done a whole lot. He is 6 touchdowns in 3 seasons, 3 last year. He does have over 2,000 career yards, but Kyle Pitts just has not been that guy yet for the Falcons. He hasn't even been their absolute starter. I mean, last year, he was platooning with Jonnu Smith. He's 24 years old. He's still very young. He still has room to grow, but I need to see that break out. The fact that he's not in the top 15 is quite crazy, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. And the guy that I have actually thought was better than him, Jonnu Smith, coming in at number 17. Look, people will hate me for it. Jonnu Smith was better than Kyle Pitts on his own team last year. And now Jonnu Smith is getting a chance to be a starter over in Miami. Good for him. He's earned it. Jonnu Smith's been in the league for a long time. This is going to be his 8th season. He's 29 years old. Last year, 582 yards, 3 touchdowns. So he had the same amount of touchdowns with more yards than Kyle Pitts. I mean, that's just how it is. His best season back with Tennessee in 2020. I do like Jonnu Smith a lot. He is over 2,000 career yards, 20 career touchdowns. As a 29-year-old, though, this may be one of his last chances to start. He has to build on this, take advantage of the opportunity that he's getting in Miami. Zach Ertz coming in at number 16, still in that top 16, but Zach Ertz, he's fallen off quite a bit as well. He was once in contention for the best tight end in all of football. Yeah, 33 years old, though, so the fact that he is still a pretty solid starter, that tells you a lot. Last year, he only played in 7 games. He got hurt, missed a lot of time, but he did 1 touchdown, 187 yards. With Arizona in 2022, 406 yards with 4 touchdowns. Before that, in 2021, 700 yards, 5 touchdowns. So 2021-22, he was not all that bad. He did not play much in 2020, but in 2019, from 2017 through 19, he was one of the best tight ends in the league, and he was not bad. Like I said, when he's been healthy over the past 3 years, he has still been a solid tight end. It's just staying on the field for Zach Ertz has been hard lately. And here's the guy who replaced Zach Ertz in Arizona. It's Trey McBride. Trey McBride, one of the better young tight ends in the league. He could definitely get into that top 10 when it's all said and done at the end of the season. He's only 24 years old, coming out of Colorado State University. Was last year his rookie year? No, last year was his second season, right? Yeah, last year was year 2 for him. 81 receptions, 825 yards, 3 touchdowns. So the production as far as scoring hasn't been there, but he's gotten a lot of yards last year, a lot of receptions. He has been getting the volume, and I think he can take things up a notch in 2024. Jake Ferguson at number 14. The Cowboys, they looked to Jake Ferguson to replace Dalton Schultz. I said it was a mistake, and I still think it was a mistake, but Jake Ferguson wasn't terrible. The 25-year-old Jake Ferguson, the Cowboys starting tight end last year, yeah, well, he was fine. He was decent in his second season, so now it'll be year 3 for him. Last year, 761 yards, 5 touchdowns, 71 receptions, so it was much better than his rookie season, but I would like to see him give a little bit more for Dak Prescott, because right now, I still think it was a mistake for them to move off Dalton Schultz. Number 13, I have the Bears, Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet, he's going to be a really nice option, I think, for Caleb Williams, especially early in Caleb Williams' career. Cole Kmet, just a great check down option. 25 years old, Cole Kmet, coming out of Notre Dame. He has been a fairly reliable tight end across 4 seasons for Chicago. The 25-year-old last season, 719 yards, 73 receptions, 6 touchdowns. 2022, 7 touchdowns, 544 yards. He's been over 6 touchdowns back-to-back seasons. I think that will be the case again this year. Number 12, I have Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee on the Rams. It feels like he's always just around the 10th best tight end or so in the league. I have him at 12 this year, but he's always kind of just hovering around that group of tight ends. He's decent. He's not incredible, but he is pretty good. He's getting older now, though. He is 31 years old, so he's not the same guy he once was, but last year he still caught 495 yards, 47 receptions, 2 touchdowns. Before that, 72 receptions, 620 for 3 touchdowns, and I do give Tyler Higbee some benefit of the doubt. He's a former Pro Bowler. Yes, he's a veteran. Yes, he may be getting worse, but he's also, again, last year, suffered a couple injuries, but I do believe in Tyler Higbee. I think that he can still be a force to be reckoned with on the Rams offense in 2024. And I have Dalton Schultz coming in at 11, the guy the Cowboys replaced. I had him in my top 10 for the past 2 seasons. He falls to 11 this time around. But again, I still like Dalton Schultz a lot, actually. I think Dalton Schultz is a really good option for CJ Stroud there in Houston. The 28-year-old last year had a really nice season. It kind of went under the radar because of all the other storylines happening with Houston. We were watching Tank Dell. We were watching CJ Stroud, obviously. We were watching just everything come together for them so well. People kind of forgot. Dalton Schultz last year, 59 receptions, 635 yards, 5 touchdowns. And now across 5 seasons, he's been good. 22 career touchdowns over the last 4, really. He didn't even play in 2018 or 19, truly not. So really over the past 4 seasons, 22 touchdowns and over 2,000 yards. I like Dalton Schultz a lot. Number 10, I have the Patriots starting tight end Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry had a nice season last year, one of the few consistent forces in that New England offense. He is going to have to deal with Austin Hooper, but last year he fended off Mike Gesicki really, really well. So I do think Hunter Henry can be a good tight end this year. I think he can be, I don't know about top 10 again. We'll see. Last year he was definitely a top 10 tight end in the league with 6 touchdowns, 42 receptions, 419 yards, and that was in just 10 games started. He missed 7 games, and I still think, those 10 games he was very good. 2022 with New England, 509 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2021, he had a really nice season, 9 touchdowns, 50 receptions for 603 yards. Again, just a solid tight end. He's not going to blow you away with his numbers. He's always going to be good when he's healthy, when he's on the field. He's getting older. He does have to fend off Austin Hooper. David Njoku at number 9. I thought David Njoku was really impressive, especially in the second half of last season. The first half of last season, he was not all that good. He was dealing with some injuries. Then in stepped Joe Flacco, and David Njoku really thrived with Joe Flacco as his quarterback. I thought David Njoku may have benefited the most out of any player in that offense when Joe Flacco took over as their quarterback. I mean, he was so dominant. He's 28 years old. Again, he's in that prime of his career. But I really like David Njoku. Last year, 6 touchdowns, 882 yards, 81 receptions. The year before that, 4 touchdowns, 58 receptions, 628 yards. He has 25 career touchdowns, over 3,000 career yards. He's a good player, and I still like him for 2024. Evan Engram at number 8, Evan Engram kind of had a bit of a career renaissance because we thought he was done. The Giants cast him aside, and he went around and had a really nice season with Jacksonville. Last year, 114 receptions, 963 yards, 4 touchdowns. So he didn't get a ton of touchdowns, but the yards were there, the volume was there, the receptions were there. He has been very good. In his career, he's over 4,500 yards. He's likely going to surpass that 5,000 mark. Only 24 career touchdowns. It goes to show when you play for bad teams, you just don't score as much, but he has the numbers, and I still like Evan Engram for this year. I really do. He's one of Trevor Lawrence's favorite targets. The Bills, Dalton Kincaid, going into his second year. I really, really like Dalton Kincaid, and I think he's going to take an even bigger step further this year. Last season, 673 yards, 73 receptions, 2 touchdowns. That was as a rookie. I think Dalton Kincaid takes a huge step forward. I'm betting a lot, though, on this guy because he only scored 2 touchdowns last year as a rookie. Compared to Sam Laporta, he was clearly not as good for a rookie tight end, but I'm putting a lot of faith right now in Dalton Kincaid. Dallas Goedert at number 6, always just a borderline top 5 guy. He's been very consistent ever since he took over for Zach Ertz as the Eagles starting tight end. He's been very, very good. Last year, 59 receptions, 592 yards, 3 touchdowns. Before that, 702 yards in 2022, 3 touchdowns. And look at this average, 11.7 yards per reception. That is really, really good at 11.7. So he may not have all the volume numbers, but he's good when he's on the field. He's another guy who gets hurt kind of a lot. I feel like he's always dealing with something, but when he's on the field, he's really, really good. Mark Andrews at number 5. It feels low for me to put Mark Andrews at 5. I had him at number 3 last year, but Mark Andrews, he's still a top 5 tight end. I know he got hurt last year, but even before the injury, 45 receptions, 544 yards, an average of 12.1 with 6 touchdowns in his career, 40 career touchdowns, over 4,800 career yards, average career at 12.7 yards per reception, only 1,000-yard season, but that was 2021, the year he was the most healthy, 9 touchdowns, 1,300 yards that season. I like Mark Andrews a lot. He's also really good in the blocking game. He's really good for helping Lamar Jackson out. He's a really good player. But I think Sam Laporta is better. Sam Laporta, he broke out so well last season. He's 23 years old, and I think Sam Laporta could end up being the best tight end in the league by the time this thing is all said and done. Last year as a rookie, 10 touchdowns, 889 yards, 86 receptions. I would be shocked if he doesn't go over 1,000 this year. I think he could put up 10 touchdowns again. I think he could put up 100 receptions. He's going to get a ton of volume in that offense. Jared Goff loves throwing to him. He's only going to get better in his second season. I'm a huge Sam Laporta fan. I have a number 4. He carried my fantasy team last year. But I still think TJ Hawkinson is a little bit better. Fellow NFC North, the former Lion, slightly better than the current Lion. I think by the end of this year, Laporta could be better than Hawkinson, but I love Hawkinson as a player. He's been so good in his career. 23 career touchdowns, only 5 last year, but he still went 960 yards, 95 receptions. He gets a ton of volume over there in Minnesota. TJ Hawkinson, huge player, really good for the Vikings, and he's going to be, again, it's him and Justin Jefferson. That is their offense, because their quarterback, Sam Darnold, I don't trust him. I trust TJ Hawkinson, though. See, here's what I'm going to shock you. Everyone, for the past many, 4 or 5 years, it hasn't really been in question. There is now a new number 1 tight end, because you're about to see who I put at number 2. Travis Kelce, number 2. Yes, I understand he's dating Taylor Swift. I understand he's just won back-to-back Super Bowls. How could I put Travis Kelce not at number 1? It's because last year he wasn't the best tight end in all of football. He just simply wasn't. He was good last year, don't get me wrong. He still went for 984 yards. He still caught 93 passes, but only 5 touchdowns. And last year was his first year since 2015 that he didn't go for 1,000 yards. Travis Kelce, I think from about 2016 until 2022, he was the best tight end in all of football. But right now, I don't think he is number 1. I think his career has entered the decline. He's 35 years old. He now cares a little bit more about other things, and that's okay, right? You're allowed to care more about your relationship. You're allowed to care a little bit more about being a star. He's got his podcast. He's got his brother. He's got his family to worry about. Taylor Swift. He's got Taylor Swift to worry about. He has more than just being a superstar for the Chiefs. He has his 3 Super Bowl rings. He doesn't need any more. He already is a Hall of Famer. So I'm not trying to throw any shade on Travis Kelce. I just think that right now he is entering that decline of his career. And at number one, you know who it is if you've been paying attention. Number 1 is George Kittle. George Kittle, I think he's the best tight end in the NFL right now. I really do. I think he's been knocking on that door for a while because, last year I put him at number 2. I had him just ahead of Mark Andrews. He's now made the Pro Bowl in 5 of 6 seasons. Last year he was so good. Last year he went for over 1,000 yards, only 65 receptions. So that's the crazy part. His average last year, 15.7 yards per reception, and he does go for 6 touchdowns. He was excellent in the playoffs as well. I think George Kittle, because of his receiving, but B, because he does so much for the run game. And yeah, he's younger, and yeah, I still think he's in the prime of his career. He's 31. He's 4 years younger than Travis Kelce. I actually think that with Brock Purdy at quarterback, he might have an even better season than he did last year as he gets even more comfortable with Purdy. 11 touchdowns in 2022, 6 in 21, and then 6 again in 23. Yeah, huge George Kittle fan. I haven't been the best tight end in all of football. I think the volume is there. I think he's proven to me that he is the best tight end in all of football. It's very close still between him and Kelce, I think. But I think this thing could be wide open by the end of the season, because if Kelce's getting worse and if Laporta's getting better, then you could see a scenario where Laporta is that number 1 guy by the end of the season. Kittle and Kelce and Andrews, they're still going to be there. But I think Sam Laporta, by the end of this year, he could be that number 1 tight end in the league. We might be talking about a new number 1 by the end of next year. But for now, it's Kittle at 1. It's Kelce at 2. It's Hawkinson 3. Laporta 4. Andrews at 5. And then the rest of the top 10, we have Goddard, Dalton Kincaid, Evan Engram, David Njoku, and Hunter Henry. Just missing out was Dalton Schultz. All right, guys, that is my top 10 tight ends for 2024. If you liked the video, subscribe, comment below. Let me know, what do you think? Do you agree with my rankings? Do you hate my rankings? Probably you hate my rankings because everyone hates my rankings. So let me know down in the comments. I want to hear it. This has been Coast to Coast Sports. We'll see you guys in the next one.